Day by day, thousands of families stream out of West Mosul. Shell-shocked, traumatised and utterly exhausted.
هذا الطفل المن عواننا الكريمة.
كل حياتي خربت. والله.
For the past few months, Islamic State has held these men, women and children hostage as human shields. To be caught fleeing could mean instant execution or death by sniper fire. Mothers are resorting to drugging their babies to ensure ISIS doesn't catch them fleeing. But it's not just Islamic State that is causing fear, injury and death here.
من ناحية يعني القصف كثير علينا. كلتنا داخلين بالبيوت. ما نطيق نطلع.
I lost 3 of my members of my family. Believe me.
And how did that happen?
By the bomb. By the bomb.
Noor says civilians are caught between ISIS on one side and airstrikes on the other.
وقعد حط الأسلحة مالي وببيتي وأخذ بيتي أقول له أنا عندي معوق يقول أنت ما تهمنا إحنا يهمنا الموقع أنت تطلع برا.
This woman was hit by an airstrike 15 days ago and hasn't been able to get treatment for her broken leg.
كثير والله كثير راحت عالم. كثير راحت عالم. نحن بمنطقتنا وقع صاروخ كثف عوائل راح طلعوا من جولهم.
Airstrikes have been a feature of this conflict from the beginning, but it's not just the airstrikes. You have heavy weapons being used by both sides. You have mortars, you have IEDs, you have booby-trapped buildings. It's a lot of different factors that are leading to a very high casualty rate and very violent and bloody injuries.
In a small town about 20 kilometres from Mosul, this field hospital has treated more than 1,000 patients since January. These two brothers were shot by ISIS snipers as they escaped the city.
Another his brother died.
His brother died?
Yes, died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we see this every day, numerous times a day. So there's been a lot of sniper activity and a lot of wounds similar to this.
Fatima was in her home in West Mosul 3 days ago when an airstrike struck.
وضرب الهاون وأنا الشظايا جبت برجلي قبل وقعت بالأرض كسر عظام رجلي وزوجي وقع برا يم البيت وبنتي صار بيها شظايا وبعض الجيران ماتوا.
She questions the level of force being used against IS.
الصاروخ لا كبير حجمه ينزل على بيوت جوا ويقتل عوائل كثيرة يروح بيها عوائل حيل دمرت الموصل.
Iraqi forces took a terrible pounding when they captured the east of the city. And I think what we're seeing in West Mosul is a shift in, instead of clearing a house as they maybe would have done a few months ago, they're calling in an airstrike. And it's transferring the risk from the military onto the civilians. That's a terrible choice that's having to be made.
This 18-month-old little boy arrived in an ambulance alone.
There was some type of blast injury and some rubble fell down on top of him. And so he was trapped, from what I understand, in this rubble. It ended up breaking his right leg. Unfortunately, what we did find out with him is that his entire family was killed. And now we have the pleasure of caring for him, but unfortunately, he's a little orphan.
And now reports have emerged of a horrific incident in the West Mosul Al Jadida neighbourhood on March the 17th. Local officials claim as many as 200 bodies have been pulled from these collapsed buildings. Eyewitnesses described a massive explosion that buried residents inside. But what caused the blast is unclear.
It's a very complex event, and in fact we're still not entirely clear what happened. What we can definitely say is a large number of civilians died at Al Jadida.
On the weekend, the US military confirmed that coalition warplanes struck in West Mosul on March 17, at the location corresponding to allegations of civilian casualties.
Only 65% of coalition strikes in Iraq are by the Americans. Those other strikes are going to be by the British, the French, by Australia and by Belgium. So we're reaching out to all four countries and saying, did you bomb here? Were you involved?
The US regularly releases the location of its airstrikes in Iraq and Syria, but the ADF routinely refuses. 2 weeks ago, 730 revealed that monitors consider Australia the least transparent member of the coalition.
The problem we've had with Australia in the past is Australia won't tell us. It won't tell us where it bombs, it won't tell us when it bombs. And that means you get very little public accountability when you get incidents like this.
After the horror in Al Jadida, the Australian Defence Force was under pressure to reveal the location of its warplanes and support aircraft on that day.
The government takes allegations of civilian casualties very seriously. I'm advised that Australian strike aircraft were not involved in the airstrike. Operational records show that Australian E-7A Wedgetail did not fly on 17 March 2017 and that the Australian KC-38 did not refuel the aircraft involved in the airstrike.
The rules of armed conflict are pretty basic. You can only direct your attacks on the fighters, and you have to take all feasible precautions to protect the civilians.
The UN estimates 400,000 civilians could still be trapped in ISIS-held areas. What price will the people of Mosul pay for their liberation?
صارت مجازر يعني شوية الطيارة لا تجي تقصف يعني البيوت حاول بس على داعش